Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We got two players left, one match left in the tournament. We're in the finals, Ross!
It is the match for all the marbles, or in our case, this lovely expressive iteration playmat.
Yeah, first place, $2,000 up top. We got this expressive iteration playmat that the players are playing for. The winner will receive this expressive iteration playmat, an invite to the regional championship in Denver next year, and both players are automatically qualified for the Apex Invitational in November. So congrats to both of them.
Yes, congrats to them. Looking forward to seeing them on November 17th to the 19th, where our Season 3 Invitational will be held. Right here at the Apex Gaming home store in Caldwell, Ohio. Todd and I will bring you commentary of that when it happens. But for now, we got one more match today, and then we got another tournament tomorrow. Todd, tell them about it.
All right, so tomorrow we will be doing basically the same thing that we did today. We're going to be running a full Swiss event for a Pioneer Open. This is going to be a $2,000 Open, but the same qualifications are going to be on the line. Top two get qualified for the Apex Invitational in November. First place qualifies for the regional championship next year in Denver. Now, we got two players left in the event. Ross, why don't you give us a rundown of the two players and the two decks they're playing?
Well, we saw TJ Radizak finally take down Amin Abadi on Yawgmoth. Going to be up against Don Delosier on Rakdos, Evoke, the boogeyman of the format. So, in a sense, we've got end bosses on both sides of the table here. There is Don is the newcomer as a player here in the Apex series, definitely an accomplished player, but playing the end boss of the modern format in Rakdos Evoke. TJ is more so the end boss of the Apex series. He's been playing on it since the beginning, one of our most decorated players. So should be a very interesting matchup. This is a matchup that is very intricate. It can go really long, and both players have a lot of play. So it'll be fun to see these two great players duke it out for their shot at glory.
All right, let's head on down to the feature match area so these players don't have to wait any longer. We're going to be starting game one of the finals. TJ Radizak's going to be on your right, playing Golgari Yawgmoth. I believe he's going to be on the play. He was seed number 2 or 3. And then Don Delosier was seed 4 or 5, and now going to be on Rakdos Evoke on the draw. Here we go. Yawgmoth leads with Colony Garden, makes a plant. Elliot Raff, here I come.
Don tried to play it out for seeding in the last round. These were the two 5-0s, so they intentionally drew in round 6. Then Don played it out in round 7, trying to get higher in the standings, ended up losing to Travis Brown in that match, came in at the 4 seed. Perhaps had she drawn that match, she'd be on the play here against TJ.
All right, well, not a great start for TJ with just the Colony Garden, but now Don going to go for a Grief, and this is going to be discarding a Thoughtseize to the pitch on the Evoke, and now if Don has one of those Undying cards, like...
Not Dead After All.
Not Dead After All, or...
It's not Undying Evil, Feign Death.
Feign Death. If Dawn has either of those, going to be able to strip the hand, and that's exactly what she has. Going to take away the Endurance and the Shield Dread, leaving TJ Radizak with just Gilded Goose and lands.
See, when you just evoke the Grief and take one card, that's a bad Grief. But when you play the Undying effect, now it's a good Grief.
Yeah, good grief. All right, the Grief does come back to the battlefield tapped. So just a little bookkeeping there. TJ going to play land number 2, plays Strangeroot Geist. And if we get in there, we can hit for 2 and maybe race a little bit. But TJ looking like he wants to double block, so maybe, I don't know.
Could double block this turn and next turn with the Gilded Goose and effectively trade Strangeroot Geist and the plant token for this Grief. Because next turn, and the Gilded Goose, okay. Because Grief will have 4 power that turn against 4 toughness, 2 from the Goose and 2 from the Geist with the counter.
The Goose and the Geist. All right, here we go. Back TJ's way. No turn 2 play from Dawn, but has Lightning Bolt and Fable the Mirrorbreaker in hand.
Okay, there's
TJ.
There's a Yawgmoth.
Yeah, here's a Gilded Goose to start.
Now we can double block with Geist and Yawgmoth and trade for half a Yawgmoth and the Strangeroot Geist along with the plant token.
Yeah, but we know that Dawn has Lightning Bolt and can take down the Strangeroot Geist here. And it looks like TJ's going to get a little aggressive and maybe just ignore the Grief for a little bit. Dawn here, heavy incentive because of the Fable in hand to go ahead and bolt that Strangeroot Geist, and she does.
You don't see a lot of bolts in Rakdos Evoke these days. The deck has gotten a little more creature heavy with Orcish Bowmaster and opts for Fatal Push over it. Sometimes you see it in the sideboard. Dawn actually has 1 copy in the main deck, has a second on the board as well.
Yeah, Lightning Bolt, one of the best removal spells ever printed. It's fallen a little bit down by the wayside thanks to Unholy Heat and Fatal Push both being able to eliminate larger creatures. But Dawn playing this deck really aggressively and using that Lightning Bolt to pressure life total sometimes. Orcish Bowmaster is the draw. Looks like we're going to be deploying Fable the Mirror Breaker this turn more than likely. But here's a 4-point attack with Grief.
There we go.
TJ down to 16. Dawn plays Marsh Flats, cracks it. Down to 16. Down to 15, excuse me.
Yeah, both players pretty much on empty after these early turns with a lot of trading, so the next couple draw steps are going to matter a whole lot.
Yeah, and TJ's got a lot of big ones. Court Calling, Yawgmoth, Grist, these are all pretty nice hits. And they deal with the Grief in some capacity. What's that, Wall of Roots?
That is Wall of Roots, so...
All right. Here it comes. No cards left in hand. We do have a food token, and we can start making more food tokens with the Goose.
The Wall of Roots does check the damage from the Goblin Shaman, but Dawn will still be able to accumulate some treasure tokens from it attacking.
Dawn choosing not to discard anything, has 2/2 drops in hand with 3 lands and the ability to make a treasure. Dawn's going to start with Dauthi Voidwalker. That's going to be a really big deal.
Yeah, very good for getting the last few points in through a clogged battlefield. We've seen how good this Yawgmoth deck is at blocking and stalling with all of these recursive threats and cheap creatures.
What a play from Dawn. Going to use Bowmaster plus Dauthi Voidwalker to eat up the Young Wolf and exile it. That's going to be a 1/1 army token coming from Dawn as well. I don't believe you can miss. I think that is a 1, like a... Okay.
Yeah.
All right. She's going to grab the orc token. But you can't resolve half of a trigger, so she can't deal 1 damage and forget the orc.
That is correct.
All right. We're going to make another food.
TJ opting to put a counter on his Wall of Roots rather than crack that fetch land, potentially trying to conserve life or wants to save it for some other reason. There's no Dryad Arbor for TJ, so it's not saving to potentially get a Dryad Arbor. Another Wall of Roots out the top is not going to help him, though.
All right. We got Fable turning into Reflection of Kiki Jiki. That plus Grief can be a pseudo draw step block to keep TJ off anything that's not an instant.
And the only instant in the deck is Court of Calling, so going to really limit his outs if he doesn't find something good off the top of the deck this turn.
There's a big attack from Dawn. Everything's coming in because nothing on the other side has power. That Young Wolf is exiled from the Dauthi Voidwalker. It is not in play. And now we're looking at Wall of Roots to be blocking some of these 2-power creatures. We're going to be taking 8 damage down to 4, but we got some food tokens to crack.
So it looks like the Grief's coming through, the Voidwalker's coming through. I think that's it, yeah, so 7 coming across.
All right, and Dawn does have Takenuma as the draw for turn, so while a land normally pretty bad in the spot, Takenuma can maybe mill over a creature and get something back. Dawn could also just use Dauthi Voidwalker at some point to cast a spell, and then use the Takenuma to get the Voidwalker back, since it can sacrifice itself.
Neat little trick. TJ sacrificing a food token here on the end step, so gonna get a little bit of that life back, but like I said, once the Reflection is no longer summoning sick, he has very few live draws.
All right, going to be activating. Going to be making another food up to 2.
Got that Wall of Roots mana.
Found Court of Calling. This is a cord for 4 potentially at 7 life. Can maybe start by eating the Bowmaster after some blocks, and then use some other sacrifices to kill some stuff before damage. That's a heck of a draw. It might not be enough.
And it's only at 7 life, so a Yawgmoth doesn't do a ton, especially because you have to deal with the Orcish Bowmaster first. I'm not sure how he gets out of this, but this is a cord for 4, 2 mana from the 2 Wall of Roots. When their abilities, 3 Convokes, and then 2 lands.
Maybe just going to gain 3 life up to 10. Can crack food. Although I believe that's nurturing peeling, so I think it would only be
Yeah.
up to 9.
If TJ cracks a food, he's dead. You can just copy grief and attack.
Oh, I forgot about the reflection. Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to start by sacking Goose. This is going to target the Bowmaster. So we're going to draw. We're going to deal 1 damage to face and grow the Bowmaster.
Yep. So TJ gonna go down to 6.
Or the army, excuse me.
Yeah, it kind of has to deal with the Voidwalker too, because that stops his undying creatures, but you also kind of need to deal with the grief or the reflection. There's just too many problematic creatures on Dawn's side of the battlefield.
Yeah, one cool little trick, if he had access to 2 black, he could, like, put a counter on a bunch of 2 toughness things and then proliferate, but
Well, that is a Twilight Mire, so he does have access to 2 black.
I thought that was a nurturing peeling. I thought that's what we just said.
Is it? I think it's a Twilight Mire.
If it was a Twilight Mire, then that might be the schmoove.
So we can put a counter on the reflection, counter on the Voidwalker, and then discard. But he's passing the turn, so now the reflection is online.
Yeah. Don't like that. Here's a Ragavan. This might be a time for a dash. Looks at the pile for the Voidwalkers. Pretty lackluster. A 3 power unblockable is a bit better. 1 blocker, but a couple of potential activations from TJ.
I just don't see how he survives this turn.
Well, maybe Dawn gets the fear and doesn't attack with everything. I don't know. People make mistakes all the time. Play to your outs.
She even has Ragavan and another Bowmaster here, so we can dash Ragavan, attack with everything, get a treasure from the Goblin Shaman, and play the Bowmaster. Well, that's probably worse than just activating the Reflection. There's so many good options.
I think just dash Ragavan, attack with everybody is more than lethal, right?
Do whatever you want. They're all great.
All right, I think Dawn wants to ask the judge a question, probably about the text on a card or how proliferate works or something. There's some complicated interaction that is in the Golgari Yawgmoth deck that I'm sure she's aware of and curious about how it works with current situation.
She's just dotting her I's and crossing her T's, making sure all her ducks are in a row, using a lot of mixed metaphors.
That's like my whole thing. No one ever knows what I'm talking about. That's how I like it. Maybe even getting the Oracle text on a card. Who knows?
Yeah.
But the big deal here is that the one card that TJ could have drawn, I think, to maybe not be dead is like Orcish Bowmasters. Is that enough? Like if Dawn just attacks with some stuff and Bowmaster comes down, is that enough? Maybe TJ really needs Dawn to activate the reflection of Kiki Jiki, and then whatever Dawn targets, TJ can shrink and murk.
Maybe. But what if you target the grief? That grief has 3 toughness. You'd have to sack both your Wall of Roots and activate the Yawgmoth. You'd have no other action.
Sure, but what if
And you'd
the
be at
reflection
3.
targets the Dothy Voidwalker and Dawn makes a mistake?
Alright, if you target the Dothy Voidwalker, you can target it. You can just target it twice, go to 3, but then you can't answer the grief. I don't think you can answer both the grief and the Voidwalker this turn. That's the problem.
We are in the finals here. Dawn Delosier playing Rakdos Evoke, currently away from the table asking the judge a question. TJ Radizak on Golgari Yawgmoth on the right. And he's in a tight spot here, you know.
You could even try to copy the Goblin Shaman.
Here comes Dawn. What are we going to do?
I think it all works.
Dawn's like, how do I reach these kids?
I've never seen someone this far ahead look so stressed.
Well, there's this thing that happens in human beings where everything seems great, and all you want to do is to figure out how your life gets ruined. And then you can prevent your life from being ruined once you acknowledge how it can be ruined.
Yeah. The last thing you'd want to do is throw a game you have completely won by accidentally activating a Kasali Pride Mage or something simple like that.
Yeah, I mean, while Kasali Pride Mage can blow up an artifact or enchantment, it reads it on the card, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes not activating stuff is the way to go.
Yep.
I like Kasali Pride Mage quite a bit. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite cards.
That's a card that would be good in Pioneer, I think.
That's true. Exalted's not in Pioneer at all, I don't think. No, that's not true. It is. It's like an old core set that brought it back for a bunch of bad
Yeah.
cards that aren't good. All right, TJ,
Finally.
maxed it in finally. Thank you so much. Mr. Camera Time over here, just posturing. Dead 16 ways.
Okay. Let's check out some sideboards.
No, I get to do this. All right, as these players are reaching for their sideboards and taking a look at their Hot 15, Ross, why don't you give me your expert insight?
Hey,
on what
TJ's
they're gonna be
sideboard. 2 Force of Vigor, 2 Elven Chorus, 2 Endurance, 2 Fatal Push, 1 Haywire Might, 1 Collector Oof, 1 Soulless Jailer, 1 Chalice of the Void, 1 Go for the Throat, 1 Veil of Summer, 1 Fulminator Mage. I like the Go for the Throat. I like the Veil of Summer. I love the Elven Choruses. That's the big card of this matchup. We've seen TJ bring it in before.
Yeah.
But not a ton of changes to be made.
Well, that is one of those engine cards that's often good against heavy interaction decks. You know, the Elven Chorus is one of the newer cards from the newest Lord of the Rings set. And, you know, we saw it in play earlier and drew TJ 5 or 6 creatures and let all of his dorks tap for mana so he could do some really fun stuff.
Yes, and looking at Dawn's sideboard, we've got 3 copies of Engineered Explosives, 1 Nile Spellbomb, 1 Fatal Push, 1 Lightning Bolt, 1 Terminate, 1 Blood Moon, 1 Chalice of the Void, and 3 Leyline of the Void. I like the 3 removal spells and the 3 Leyline of the Voids, and I like cutting the 2 Blood Moon and 4 Ragavan in this matchup. But if you were counting along, you'll notice I only listed 12 cards. That's because Dawn has a little bit of spice here in the sideboard. There's 1 Goblet Shrine in the main in order to cast the Tear half of 3 copies of Wear Tear.
Oh, yeah.
And that Tear can answer Elven Chorus.
Yeah, and if Don recognizes that Elven Chorus is an integral part of TJ's sideboard plan, maybe brings it in. But not many artifacts or enchantments in the Yawgmoth deck, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It would essentially be there as a specialized scalpel to cut out Elven Chorus. But it is a very powerful card for TJ. We'll see if Dawn, decides to go for a very narrow answer to it.
All right. Well, as these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, I want to remind everyone at home that this is the finals of the $5,000 Modern Open hosted by Apex Gaming at their home store in Caldwell, Ohio. The winner of this event will qualify for the regional championship in Denver next year. Both players have locked up a slot to the Apex Invitational in November. So congrats to both of them. First place is $2,000 and, this cool expressive iteration playmat that we got sitting here. And a nice little handshake from Ross in an interview.
Yeah, still plenty on the line here. TJ down a game. Going to be, trying to get back and level this match, get to a game 3. Dawn looking to close it out quickly. Todd, can you imagine if Dawn wins this tournament by tearing her own Wicked Roll token for the last point of damage?
That'd be pretty cool.
That's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah. You know there's no way Wear Tear's in the deck, right?
It could be.
Look, even with perfect information, I don't think Wear Tear should be in the deck.
I'm not saying whether it should or shouldn't be. I'm just saying it's an interesting option.
Ah, I see. All right, so TJ going to be on the play here. Let's see if he wants to keep this opener. I see the Agatha Soul Cauldron and a Grist. A couple Grists, actually, but I don't see too many lands.
I think I see a Blood Moon in Dawn's opener.
Yeah, maybe he wants to pressure those early mana accelerators and then use the Blood Moon to lock TJ out of a color. Here is County Garden. Back Dawn's way. No turn 1 play. We've seen her cast Grief and return it back from the dead multiple times on turn 1. About 3 times so far in this tournament. A very great start. And now TJ Radizak going to be playing Agatha Soul Cauldron, which will prevent a lot of the Rakdos Evoke deck's strength by preventing the graveyard return.
Will also induce a long read from the opponent for the, nth time, where n is the number of times he's cast it in the tournament.
Are you saying you're kind of like a math guy?
I'm not saying it. I demonstrated it through
okay.
my clever use of mathematical terminology.
Oh, through your clever use of nth?
It's called an ordinal number.
I'm going to ordinal you to shut up.
Fine. I'll just go to wings early.
Okay, see ya. All right, Grist comes down for TJ. That's going to pop off the Dothy Voidwalker. But now, Dawn, if she can play this Blood Moon this turn, TJ's lands are looking a little dicey. Might see the first Blood Moon ruining a game of the whole event so far. Do it.
I was gonna poo-poo the Blood Moon.
Execute Order
so of course,
66.
it's gonna just eviscerate TJ here.
Oh yeah, Blood Moon is never not a complete backbreaker. Whenever I watch other people do it, and whenever people do it to me, every time I cast Blood Moon, my opponent immediately draws 2 basic lands in a row.
That sounds plausible.
Yeah. All right. So here's the Blood Moon. Maybe.
I mean,
Can play Fable.
I can't imagine not playing Blood Moon here. Your opponent has 3 non-basic lands in play. You already have a swamp at least.
Oh
Okay,
my.
I guess deciding to just completely eviscerate TJ. Let's deal with the Grist first. I'm fine with that too.
Love it.
You know, Grist could get you enough green creatures to cord for something relevant.
Bingo. All right, Blood Moon is the play from Dawn after pitching the Fury, and we're gonna go back TJ Radizak's way.
That Fable should be in exile.
Yeah, we should probably get that exiled. We'll go ahead and get our director to run over there and tell him real quick. Now, the Dodley Voidwalker going under the Agatha Soul Cauldron is actually kind of awesome, but Fable of the Mirrorbreaker should be exiled.
Because Dothy Voidwalker says, you know, it exiles spells with a certain and puts a counter on it, a certain counter, then the second ability is cast a spell exiled with that type of counter on it. If Dawn plays another Voidwalker later in the game, you know, TJ can use the second activated ability granted by Soul Cauldron to cast those spells.
All right, so no play from Dawn on 4, has access to 1 black mana. I thought I saw an Orcish Bowmaster hanging out over there, and yes, I do. Here comes the Bowman, shooting TJ for 1, and more importantly, going to apply a little pressure. And if TJ doesn't draw one of his basic lands, it's going to be really hard for him to keep up.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Now, while Blood Moon turns off abilities in play, you can still channel this Takenuma from hand if you're Dawn, so not a bad draw there.
Yeah, that'll play.
It also kind of gets through the Agatha Soul Cauldron because the ability is all rolled into 1 for the mill 3 in the search, but could miss.
Why would you miss when you could hit instead?
I'm just saying you could miss. I'm not
But
saying you
why
should
would you?
miss or choose to.
She just hit.
Okay. All right, Hapatra. That one's going to be hard to cast. Here's Takenuma. Let's see if we can find a creature or planeswalker. There is no window where TJ can eat it with Agatha Soul Cauldron, but we miss. And the Godless Shrine's down. The Wicked Roll win is no longer viable, Ross.
TJ has Elven Chorus in hand. It's all going to unravel.
Yeah. All right, Thoughtseize is the pickup from Dawn. Going to go ahead and cast that. Taking a look at TJ's hand. It's all goods because he hasn't been able to cast anything for about 3 turns now. It's Pair Grist.
The Yawg, a Bowmaster, the Elven Chorus, and a Hapatra.
All right, but 1 basic land from TJ. Could get him back into it, but it's going to need to be a swamp to start. Bowmaster on Bowmaster action is usually pretty hot.
I imagine the second Bowmaster is better than the first one.
Nah, that's what they said. All right, attack for 2. Bowmaster gone. And now TJ needs to draw Forest. Forest would be cool now because it allows for the Elven Chorus to play.
There's 2 forests and 1 swamp in
Burning
TJ's deck.
Catacombs. Ripperoo.
We got 3 good draws for TJ.
There's a Fury. Do we have land number 5? No, we don't. Maybe should have held on to the Takenuma for a little bit longer. Getting punished for not having that 5th mana source. TJ just passes back. Blood Moon Finals. This is what everyone loves to see. Everyone is super into Blood Moon you. You don't do anything for 8 turns while I kill you with 1/1s. And here's Fury.
And that should do it.
Oh, TJ. Packs it in. Don Delozier is your champion here at the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open. Congratulations. Dawn just cashed her ticket to the RCQ in Denver next year. That's so sick.
Yeah, great tournament from her. First time here at the Apex Series and takes the whole thing down. So hopefully we'll see her again in November.
All right. Well, Mr. Director Man, can you go grab Dawn for us? And we're going to fill for just a moment while we get that set up. So congratulations to Dawn Delozier for taking down our $5,000 Modern Open. That Blood Moon was a backbreaker.
Yeah, it was smart of her to leave it in. It completely won the game by itself, essentially. And I think there was some consideration as to not dealing with the Grist, and maybe you could have she could have gotten down that Fable, but just dealing with the Grist, had the Orcish Bowmasters left over, and that was more than good enough.
All right, Don. Yeah.
Right here. first things first. I'll let you get the headset on and then talk. Well, congratulations. First time here at the Apex series and you take it down. That's got to feel pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
And this lovely expressive iteration playmat is now yours.
Ooh, it's like one of my favorite cards.
Excellent. Well, weren't playing it today. Instead, opted for the boogeyman of the format. Is this a deck you've played for a while, or is it just a case of I'm going to play the best deck?
So until Tuesday, I was planning on playing Hammer. And then I sent out like a tweet that said like, "Hey, I need these cards for Hammer," like just saying like ISO these cards. And then Andrew Ellenbogen commented on that and saying ISO an entire scam deck that Don can borrow. Turns out Garrison, the guy who was gonna lend me the Hammer cards, also had an entire scam deck. So I talked to Andrew and he said that this deck is busted. I basically just believed everything that he said. Played against Yawg like 3 times today. I would not have won any of those matches on Hammer. That matchup is abysmal, but it turned out Scam was just the correct call.
Yeah, we saw TJ take down Amin in the semifinals on Hammer, so yeah, would have been, I think, a much easier path for him had you been on the same deck.
Yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, really impressive stuff that you pick up a deck with 3 or 4 days before the tournament and you're able to take it down. But I agree with you, Andrew is a very smart man.
Yeah, he's a real smart man.
Definitely.
Well, a lot of it is like it's not just that I immediately like picked it up and just started playing it. I played with Ragavan decks a lot, and
Yeah.
then also I sat down and watched a lot of Scam gameplay just to like understand exactly how the deck works. It's not like I just like randomly picked up the deck and spiked
Yeah.
the tournament. I did my homework.
Oh, definitely. And I think that's an underrated aspect is, a lot of people just pick up a deck and start jamming games. Putting in some work, watching other people, especially people with a little more experience, I think can be really helpful.
Yeah, I basically don't play the deck at first at all. I watch other people's VODs, and then I pause when there's a decision, and then I think of what I would do, and then if they do something different, I try to figure out why. And that has been really successful for me for learning new decks.
Very, very interesting. I think that's a great way to approach it. And certainly, did you well today. Are you going to be back here tomorrow for the Pioneer?
No. When we were initially making plans, I don't think I was going to be able to afford like staying for the Pioneer one. But obviously I could now, but we don't exactly have the hotel booked, so we're gonna be heading home tonight.
Oh, that's fine. You came here, you did what you needed to do, and I assume we will see you in November for the invitation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm hitching a ride with Mason, I think. So
Awesome.
hopefully I'll be here.
Excellent. Congratulations, and looking forward to see you again.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
We'll get Todd back in here and wrap up this show. You can take your... Yeah. I got you. Essentially.
I was told, this is cool. They want like a picture.
They'll handle that out there.
All right, chat. Well, Ross, it's been a fun day.
Yeah, and a very efficient day. I feel like we've had very little downtime. We've just been able to go match after match after match,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
saw a lot of good magic, and it culminated with
Because
an
there's no
excellent player.
four-color Omnath in the room
Take it
today,
down.
thank God.
We had a few 4-color on us. Ryan was on that
They
deck
got
today.
squished, though.
Yeah, there was.
See
I
ya.
think there was one person that was in contention with like 2 rounds left.
Sure. Well, that's going to do it for today's event. The $5,000 Modern Open won by Don Delosier playing Rakdos Evoke, taking down TJ Radizak in the finals on Golgari Yawgmoth. Seems like Rakdos Evoke, pretty good matchup against that Golgari Yawgmoth deck. So if your local metagame has a lot of Yawgmoth, you know what to do. Fury them up, grief them up.
I mean, we saw TJ take down a fair share of Rakdos too, so I think that's just a matchup where the skill cap is very high.
Sure.
Unless you Blood Moon your opponent into oblivion.
Game. So tomorrow, though, we will have another event very similar to this one. We're going to be hosting a Pioneer $2,000 Open where first and second place will each qualify for the Apex Invitational in November, and the winner will reach their destination at Denver for the regional championship at the first regional championship next year. I'm done. It's hot in here. I'm hungry. It's time to go. Thank you so much for all the raids today from some of my friends and lovers. I love you so much.
Yeah.
See, I knew that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to laugh.
Thanks to our sponsors. We got G Fuel energy drinks. We've got Ultimate Guard giving us a lot of sweet swag to give out to our players. And, of course, Wings, etc., where Todd and I will be in about 47 seconds.
Look, I got to go change first. I'm sorry. I got to put on some pajamas. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone at home for watching. Make sure to hit the follow button before you go. We'll be here tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S., and we're going to be doing it all over again. Thank you so much to Ross Marion for being my cohort in this, as well as Apex Gaming's Kyle and Taryn Huck for hosting us and putting on a great show. Thank you so much, everyone at home, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.